So we got Chargers at the Raiders. Vegas favored by 3. Of course, the Chargers know Justin Herbert at quarterback. Season-ending thumb injury for him. Total is 34. So we're expecting another one of these low-scoring games. I mean, just like last week, what was the total close at like 31? Now we have another 34.
It was at 29.5 at one point.
Yeah. I think it might close at 30. Yeah, because Al Michaels remarked when it went. I think it went over in the first half too.
Yeah.
Yep. So that just kind of shows you that it's week to week league, a lot of variance, and that's what we're trying to take advantage of, especially in DFS. So
yeah.
Well, the median outcome is a low scoring game. Don't get kind of caught up in that and make it stop you from making some of the the plays that might be a little less popular. But who are you rolling with in the captain spot in this one?
So I'm going with Josh Jacobs here. He left the game and he missed practice to start the week with the knee injury, so we have to monitor his status, obviously. But if he does play, it likely means he is closer to 100%. I can't imagine them rolling him out there if he's banged up. So I think people might shy away from him due to the injury. But if he's playing, I think this is a spot where the Raiders are going to lean heavily on the run. I just don't see the Chargers putting up too many points here with Easton Stick under center. And, Keenan Allen, Gerald Everett, and Donald Parham are all banged up. So it could be a rough game for the Chargers offense. And we've seen the Raiders just be run heavy whenever they can. So could be a good spot for Josh Jacobs. Definitely a captain-worthy play. And if he's out, I might play Zamir White in the captain slot. He'll probably just take over Josh Jacobs' role with Amir Abdullah probably seeing most of the passing down work. But again, this is a game where whoever the early down back is for the Raiders could eat. And, they drafted Zamir White to potentially be Jacobs' replacement. They weren't sure if they were going to re-sign him or whatnot. So I think this could be a Zamir White breakout game. So if Jacobs is playing, I'm using him. And if he's out, I'm going to use Zamir White in the captain slot. Screw it.
Yeah, it's the options are kind of it's a toss up with this. You could play a lot of different guys in this captain spot because everyone has some kind of uncertainty, whether it's due to quarterback injuries, their own injuries, playing time. So I'm gonna go with the guy who saw a little bit of a dip in playing time and lost his quarterback, and that's Austin Eckler. This is a division game, and like the Raiders are favored by 3. It's Aiden O'Connell versus Easton Stick. The Chargers could easily control this game from wire to wire. And I think, with everyone, having to kind of bump Eckler down a little bit in their projections, people who are, just going by like, raw value or whatnot, Devontae Adams, Keenan Allen might pop more. Receivers, guys like that, even with the quarterback situation. So I'm going to just kind of take what the slate is giving me with Eckler here and go up against this Vegas pass funnel, run funnel defense, 12th against the pass. They like to limit the explosive passes, but they are 23rd in DVOA against the run. And, Eckler, they talked about, okay, we need to kind of get the running game going. We'll go with the hot hand, but I don't really trust Josh Kelly or Isaiah Spiller to get the hot hand. I think that kind of motivated Eckler last week. Thought he looked the best he has all season. And even though it has been a frustrating season, if you drafted him thinking you were going to get at least somewhat close to, McCaffrey type production, he's still averaging 17.2 touches, 84 scrimmage yards per game. And he does have 6 touchdowns in 10 games. So I think this is one, we saw this Monday night how, thought the Packers were a good bet to win. I think they were favored by 6 on the road or 5 or 6 on the road. And then the Dolphins were favored by double digits, and both of those teams struggled. So I think I'm kind of betting against the Raiders having a positive game script here. And of course, this will be the time the Chargers to show up. The minute Justin Herbert goes down and the season's essentially over, that would be the most Charger thing possible for Eckler to get like 200 yards, 3 touchdowns in this game. Like after when everyone's like starting to worry a little bit. So got to go with Eckler this week, just because I think he's a little bit more contrarian than you would ever have thought a guy drafted like 2nd overall or could be. So
true. Yeah, he still has a very high ceiling. And didn't we see Aiden O'Connell versus Easton Stick in week 1 of the preseason?
Oh my God, I was about to say we.
Oh no, it was we saw it was the Rams versus Chargers.
So it was what was it?
Brett Rippon.
No, Stetson. It was Stetson Bennett.
Stetson Bennett versus Brett Rippon. But a lot of these
not versus Brett Rippon. It was Stetson Bennett versus Easton Stick. No. Wasn't it the Niners? Wasn't it the Niners?
No, that was a few years ago. We saw Trey Lance's debut.
All these
but I'm just saying, a lot.
Running
being a preseason degenerate has prepared me for this season because, like, Tommy DeVito, Tyson Bagent, all these guys, I watched plenty of in the preseason. It's just hilarious how I think that game we went to was like foreshadowing this week as well. So, yeah, it should be a barn burner.
And it's also hilarious for as bad as all these quarterbacks have been in the league this year. We going, some teams second, third, fourth string, even quarterbacks. The one who looks the worst is probably Bryce Young.
Wow. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty sad. Hopefully the Panthers can turn things around, clean house. But I digress. Who do you like for value?
So obviously this is a slate where you're playing kickers. So like Daniel Carlson's probably a great play. But I'm going to go with the receiver here, Josh Palmer. It sounds like he's closer to 100% from his knee injury, and he's expected to play. So, with Keenan Allen, Gerald Everett, Donald Parham all banged up, they might need Palmer to step up. And we've seen Quentin Johnson has looked great the past couple weeks. He's heating up. So I think people, again, I thought that people were kind of souring on him a bit too early. I think his ownership's going to be pretty high here. Which could open the door for Palmer being a great, player that's overlooked. So he could step up as, a top 2 target, depending on Keenan's health. But I think Palmer's going to have a good game, and people might be trending more Quentin's way right now. So I think Palmer might be overlooked here.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, Quentin finally started to pop off. Palmer first game back, so a little more uncertainty there. So, yeah. Definitely like fading Quentin and pivoting to Palmer. I'll go with Hunter Renfrow. It was between Michael Mayer and Hunter Renfrow for me. But for whatever reason, it just seems like O'Connell likes to target Renfrow. And it seems like this coaching staff made it a point to kind of get Renfrow more involved. Now, the Raiders are home favorites with a low total, so that might drive a little bit of ownership off of Renfrow because you don't like the median projected game script would really not favor him. But I mean, the Raiders didn't score last week, so they had to keep kind of throwing the ball. And Renfrow over his last 3 games averaging 4 catches for 46 yards. He's only 4K on DraftKings, so even without a touchdown, that gets you pretty close to hitting value. If especially if this game is as low scoring as the Vegas odds imply. I don't necessarily, we saw the Patriots and Steelers last week, so I don't need to remind people that could go either way. But Renfrow averaging a 59% route participation rate. He had a 59 route participation rate last week coming off the bye, and that was his highest since week 8. So it looks like they made a concerted effort to get him even more involved. And it's been at least 47% in each of the last 4 games with Antonio Pierce. And the Chargers, Staley's been making some changes in personnel in that secondary, to kind of shore up all the leaks that they've continuously had at different points in the year. But right now, Isang Bassi has been getting time in the slot, and he's ranked 95th in PFF grade out of 119 qualifiers at cornerback. So I do think the Raiders, to move the ball, especially, if Jacobs is banged up, I mean, they could use Renfrow as almost like an extension of the running game. Mm-hmm. So, but just, if you're doing a lot of lineups, make sure you also fade him and get some Chargers defense. Cause I feel like every time I watch Hunter Renfrow, he has like a key fumble. So that's the only thing. It's like he can get open and he can make things happen, but he does fumble a lot. But still like him here. And remember, Hunter Renfrow was a 100 catch guy just little over a year ago. So I love how you can kind of get a dude that's still 28 years old in his prime capable of catching, 6 balls a game, and you're getting him for barely 4K in DFS. He's like an afterthought at this point. So yeah, give me some Renfroe.
Yeah, his routes run rate was like 60%, but Trey Tucker was all the way down to 5%. So if they have a more I guess they use less 3 wide, but if they use the same amount going forward, I think Renfroe could be closer to 65-70% routes run rate if they're phasing out Tucker that much.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just, I mean, it was just a weird game, honestly. So
it's hard to take away too much.
Those things can kind of jump around. So I mean, I think Tucker's a solid play too, because I'm sure some people are going to look at that, at that snap rate and be like, oh well, can't play Tucker, but that's exactly when you play Tucker.
Exactly.
But I do think Renfroe, just pure value play, who does have upside, is a great play. Who do you like for dart throw?
Well, I mean, this is an awful game, so let's just really go down the list here, and let's go with Isaiah Spiller, because last week, there were reports, the Chargers were going to split carries between Eckler and Kelly, but what ended up happening was Spiller was active, and he saw a season-high 6 carries. So, with Justin Herbert out for the season now, unfortunately, the Chargers are just, looking ahead to next year and beyond. So it would make sense to get Spiller more work, see what he's got. And we saw that last week. Could see that more here. So in a single game slate like this, now's the time to kind of take a dart throw on a guy like him. It wouldn't shock me if he gets like 10 plus touches here. I wouldn't say that's his median, obviously, but it would just make sense for the Chargers to give him an extended look, kind of like what they did last week. So he's a dart throw for sure, but I think Spiller is in play here.
Yeah, and now I'm remembering, wasn't it Rams Chargers preseason? Because didn't we see Elijah Dotson, who they just cut, go off for like 2-3 touchdowns?
Yeah, I said it was the two LA teams. It was
Okay, so that, and it's interesting that they cut Dotson, and if they're looking to spark their run game, because I mean he was breaking off big play after big play in the preseason. I mean, it is preseason, so that tells you what you need to know about that.
Spiller is a 4th round pick. He does have some upside, so they got to give him a look now. But yeah, Dotson did look really good in that game.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Kelly was like a post-hype. Like, it looked like he was going to be just off the roster, and then all of a sudden he just kind of worked his way into the 1B to Eckler. So maybe that's Spiller's reality next season. So yeah, that'll be interesting. But definitely noticed that it seemed like it was really Kelly who's the guy they're looking to kind of dial back his usage. So maybe he's a contrarian play for the slate. But I'm going with Donald Parham Jr. here, and he does have a shoulder injuries. He did practice Monday. When a guy practices Monday, usually that means they're going to be good to go. They might even get removed completely from the injury report by Thursday. The Raiders are 25th in DVOA against tight end, so I think he's a good bet for a touchdown, which always is what you're looking for on a slate like this with a cheap player. He has 10 red zone targets this year, 7 targets inside the 10-yard line, and he's caught 4 touchdown receptions on just 22 catches this year. So if he catches a ball, it's pretty decent shot, better than most, that he's going to catch a touchdown. Now, granted, that's with Justin Herbert, but this is he's like 6'8 guys. So if the Chargers are able to work it down into the red zone, maybe they'll get a turn. O'Connell's can take some sacks or throw some picks, and they get a short field. I think Parham could pop for a touchdown. So he is my dart throw for this one.